So today, we're going to dive into the work of a man named George Gurdjieff. He was, without a doubt, one of the most mysterious and challenging thinkers of the 20th century. He wasn't interested in giving people easy answers or comforting beliefs. Nope. Instead, he gave us a pretty stark diagnosis of the human condition and a very demanding path to wake up from it.
So let's just start with a question he might have hit you with directly. What if I told you you are not fully awake? What if everything you do, everything you think, everything you feel isn't really a conscious choice, but just an automatic mechanical habit? What if you're living your entire life in a kind of sleep? Yeah, it's a pretty provocative idea, and it is absolutely central to everything Gurdjieff taught.
And there it is, his most famous and maybe his most disturbing statement. Just 3 little words that are the bedrock of his entire system. And you gotta understand, Gurdjieff was not being metaphorical here. He meant that psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, modern people are living in a trance, totally unaware of their real potential.
Okay, so how in the world did he arrive at such a radical conclusion? Well, to really get Gurdjieff's diagnosis, we first have to understand the mysterious journey he took to find it.
Gurdjieff's early life is wrapped in mystery, and honestly, that was by design. He was born in the Caucasus region and spent his youth traveling all over the place. Remote parts of Central Asia, the Middle East, North Africa. He was on a quest, you could say, searching for what he called esoteric knowledge, a kind of practical wisdom he was convinced had been lost to the modern world.
And this was the question that completely obsessed him. He looked around and saw humanity just caught in these endless cycles of war, anxiety, and self-destruction. And he just couldn't accept that this was our natural state. He thought, there has to be a reason, right? An answer to why we live in a way that so often goes completely against our own best interests. And here's the conclusion he came to. After this long search, Gurdjieff came to believe that humanity had basically lost access to a practical science, the science of consciousness itself. He argued that the knowledge of how to be truly awake, truly present, and actually in command of yourself wasn't some myth. It was a lost art, and he was determined to piece it back together. This search led him to a core, and let's be honest, a pretty shocking concept he used to describe our condition: the human machine. Now, when Gurdjieff said we are machines, he meant it psychologically. He wasn't saying we're robots. He was arguing that we don't act, we react. Our lives are just a long series of programmed responses to whatever happens to us. We are, in a way, complex biological puppets, believing we have free will when, in reality, we're just running on autopilot. So, what does this machine look like in everyday life? I mean, just think about it. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and boom, anger just happens. You get a compliment, and poof, pride just swells up mechanically. You follow the same routine day after day, thinking the same old thoughts, feeling the same old anxieties. Gurdjieff would say that's not you choosing anything. That's just the machine doing its thing. This is what's so powerful. It totally reframes our whole sense of who we are. Normally, we think of ourselves as the source of our actions. You see that on the left. It was my choice. I felt angry. But Gurdjieff's diagnosis on the right suggests this incredible shift. You go from saying, I am angry, to seeing yourself as the space in which anger arises. It's a subtle change in words, but it's the very first step toward breaking free from the machine. Okay, so if we are asleep, if we are machines, are we just doomed? Is that it? Well, according to Gurdjieff, no, not at all. He didn't just give us a diagnosis. He offered a practical system, a real way to awaken. He started by talking about the 3 traditional paths to enlightenment that people knew about. The path of the fakir, mastering the body through hardship, the monk, mastering emotions through faith and devotion, and the yogi, mastering the mind through meditation. But he said all these paths require you to basically leave the world. So he introduced what he called a 4th way, a path for you and me, designed to be practiced right here in the middle of our messy, ordinary lives by working on all 3 parts of ourselves at the same time.
And here's the crucial part. To practice this fourth way, you have to get that we're made of 3 different centers, or you could even call them brains. You've got the intellectual center for thinking, the emotional center for feeling, and the moving or physical center for action. For most of us, these centers are totally out of whack, and they're often fighting each other. The whole goal of his work is to get them in harmony, so your thinking, your feeling, and their actions are all on the same page. So how do we do that? How do we harmonize them? Well, the number one technique is called self-remembering. And this is so important. It is not about remembering your past. It's about remembering yourself right now in this moment. It takes this kind of split attention where you're aware of the world around you while at the same time you're aware of the I that's experiencing it. It's different from just mindfulness. Self-remembering is an active effort. And this breaks it down perfectly. Let's say you're drinking tea. Step 1, you're present with the action. You notice the heat, the taste, all that. That's the first awareness. But then comes the second crucial step. At the exact same time, you hold this awareness of, I am here. You become both the experience and the witness to the experience. It sounds so simple, but I'm telling you, trying to hold that state for even a few seconds is incredibly hard. And this practice isn't supposed to feel like some blissful spa day, at least not at first. Gurdjieff called it conscious labor and intentional suffering. Now, the suffering isn't punishment. It's the deep discomfort that comes from truly seeing your own automatic patterns, your impatience, your vanity, your little anxieties, and not judging them. And maybe even more importantly, not trying to immediately run away from them. To tie all these ideas together, Gurdjieff used this really powerful and easy-to-remember metaphor, which he called the carriage. It perfectly explains the whole human condition and the path to waking up. So here's how the metaphor works. Your body, that's the carriage itself. The horse that pulls it, well, that's your emotions, your desires. Your mind, your intellect, is supposed to be the driver, holding the reins. And inside the carriage, there's supposed to be a passenger, the master, which is your true conscious self. Now, check out this comparison. In the asleep state, which Gurdjieff said is most of us, the driver, our mind, is asleep at the reins. The horse, our emotions, is just running wild, dragging the carriage wherever it wants to go. The carriage itself is falling apart. And worst of all, the master isn't even there. The whole work of awakening is to wake up the driver, train the horse, and fix the carriage so that the master, your true self, can finally get inside and take charge. So, what does this all mean for you right now? Gurdjieff's system wasn't just some abstract theory. It was intensely practical. You can start today by just observing your machine. Don't try to change a thing, just watch, just notice. Then pause a few times a day and just try to remember yourself, to feel that sense of, I am here. And try to use the difficult moments, the frustrations, the little annoyances, not as problems, but as little alarm clocks trying to wake you up. And we'll end on this thought. Gurdjieff's work really challenges us to ask what freedom actually is. Maybe it's not about changing our circumstances. Maybe it's about changing our state of being. Perhaps the greatest, most profound act of liberation we can perform is to break the spell of our mechanical sleep, even just for a moment, and simply remember, I am here. So what do you think? Are we all asleep?